The 5 unforgivable sins of Sodom and Gomorrah. 5 reasons Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed by God. Sodom and Gomorrah are 2 of the most famous cities in the Bible. Other than Jerusalem, God's chosen city, Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus, Nazareth, the hometown of Jesus, Babylon, and Egypt, Sodom and Gomorrah are probably. Before we start, we'd like to ask for your support. If you enjoy our video, please hit the like button. This will help us reach more people and create content for you. Now let's get started with today's video. Sodom and Gomorrah are infamous for being completely burnt to the ground because of the severity of the sins and wickedness. God's judgment on the 2 cities was complete, total, and most devastating. Nothing was left standing. There were no trees, no buildings, no monuments, or people remained. Not many cities, before and after Sodom and Gomorrah, has suffered the same. Abraham tried to plead with God that there must be some good people in the cities. After some negotiation, God agreed that if 10 people could be found in the 2 cities that have not succumbed to the wicked nature of the inhabitants, he would spare the cities. For just 10 righteous people, God said he would not destroy the Sodom and Gomorrah. Apparently, there was no such luck, because he ended up destroying the cities. Sin number 2, idolatry and idol worship. While not explicitly mentioned in the Genesis account, we can infer that the cities were involved in idolatry and the worship of false gods. It is obvious that people who perpetrate wickedness without remorse are ungodly and idolaters. It is impossible to worship God in truth and in spirit and still be wicked, deceitful, violent, malicious, and cruel. For such people, the object of worship must be false gods in the forms of idols, power, prestige, money, and worldly fame. As Apostle Paul writes, they exchanged the truth about God for a lie, and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator. Romans 1 verse 25. This is the true definition of idolatry and idol worship: to worship and serve created things rather than the Creator of things. Here is what Jeremiah said when he compared Sodom and Gomorrah to errant Jerusalem. But in the prophets of Jerusalem I have seen a horrible thing. They commit adultery and walk in lies. They strengthen the hands of evildoers, so that no one turns from his evil. All of them have become like Sodom to me, and its inhabitants like Gomorrah. Jeremiah 23 verse 14. Sin number 3, homosexuality. There are those who claim that the only reason God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah was the pervasive homosexual practice in the cities. I do not believe this. Homosexuality was certainly one of the sins of the people, but it was not the only one, or even the worst. While homosexuality is sinful and immoral, according to Bible, it may not be considered wicked, in the strictest sense of the word. Men committed shameful acts with other men, and received in themselves the due penalty for their error. Romans chapter 1 verses 26 to 27. If this is still not clear to you, this passage is talking about lesbians and gays, homosexuality. Paul says these actions are shameful, because he did not say directly that it is a sin. Some have argued that it is not a sin, but merely a distasteful sexual practices to Paul and many in his generation. They are wrong. It is not only that homosexuality is a sin, it also, in itself, a punishment for sin. The Bible made things clearer in the following verses. Leviticus 18 verse 22, "You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination." Leviticus 20 verse 13, "If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination." Jude 1 verse 7. Just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities, which likewise indulged in sexual immorality and pursued unnatural desire, serve as an example by undergoing a punishment of eternal fire, there is nothing I can add to these to make it any clearer. If you are Christian and find yourself struggling with homosexual feels, talk to Jesus about it and seek solace in the Holy Spirit. He will surely guide you to redemption. The people of Sodom and Gomorrah did not only sin, they reveled in it. They enjoyed knowing that they lived in sin as they publicly published their sins, boasting about it to all who care to listen. In other words, they lost the ability to hear the cautionary whisper of the Holy Spirit. Here is how Isaiah describes it. For Jerusalem has stumbled, and Judah has fallen, because their speech and their deeds are against the Lord, defying his glorious presence. For the look on their faces bears witness against them. They proclaim their sin like Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to them, for they have brought evil on themselves. Isaiah chapter 3 verses 8 to 9. The pride and arrogance of the people of Sodom and Gomorrah is summed up in the story of Lot and the two angels that visited him to warn him of the impending destruction of the cities. The angels arrived at Lot's house. However, before they could retire for the evening, a mob of men from Sodom, described as the men of the city, the men of Sodom, surrounded Lot's house. These men were notorious for their sinful, immoral, and violent behavior. They demanded that Lot bring out the two strangers so that they could have sexual relations with them. Lot was appalled by the wickedness of the men of Sodom and Gomorrah and tried to protect his guests. He even offered his own virgin daughters to the mob instead, to placate them, even though the action itself is an abomination in the sight of God. Still, the men of Sodom and Gomorrah were consumed by their own passion. They wanted only to defy the male guests. Lot was determined to prevent the men from committing such shameful and sinful acts against his guests, but he was running out of options as the men started to threaten harm against Lot and his family. They were going to break down his door and come to rape the men in his house. Seeing Lot's futile resistance and impossible predicament, the angels decided to act. They struck the mob with blindness, preventing them from attacking Lot and gaining entrance into his house. Soon after, the angels told Lot of the impending destruction of the town of Sodom and Gomorrah. They then led Lot and his family out to escape the impending destruction of Sodom. If you are shocked by Lot's willingness to offer his daughters to the mob, you are not alone. It might tell of his determination to protect his guest, something that was seen as sacrosanct in that culture, but it also speaks of the way women were unfairly treated by men. Oftentimes, they were nothing more than a bargaining chip, as Lot demonstrated with his own daughters. In the face of provocation, Lot compromised. He could not muster the faith to defend his own values and the chastity of his daughters to the end. The observant listener will notice that this is not very different from what people do. To end the biblical story of Lot and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, after Lot and his family were led to safety by the angels, the Lord rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. The cities were completely destroyed under God's uncompromising judgment. Like Pompeii, it was buried deep in ashes and sand. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like and share this video.